I stared at the empty chairs like they might come to life. The table was set for 12. White linen napkins, champagne glasses catching sunlight, and place cards I'd hand-lettered myself. I arrived 15 minutes early, just in case. By noon, the hostess had already checked twice if my party was still coming. I smiled and nodded, pretending I wasn't checking my phone every 2 minutes. At 12:14 p.m., while the waiter quietly refilled my mimosa and looked away like he wasn't embarrassed for me, my cousin Mia posted a photo on her story. I clicked it, hoping maybe, stupidly, she was running late too. Instead, I saw towels laid out on sand, sunglasses perched on smiling faces, mojitos in plastic cups. There they all were, my cousin, my sister, my aunt, and even my godmother. All the people who RSVP'd yes. The caption read, "Beach day with real ones, blue heart sun with face." I stared at it like my phone had slapped me. Real ones. It wasn't just that they skipped my birthday. It was that they didn't even try to lie about it. They just chose a better option. They coordinated, planned outfits, packed coolers, and someone had to drive, which meant they'd decided this long before today. While I was making a brunch reservation and choosing a gluten-free cake for Aunt Tasha, they were deciding which beach to drive to. The waiter returned, this time more hesitant. "Would you like me to bring the check?" I blinked twice and nodded. The French toast I ordered sat untouched. I'd asked for the big table, the one next to the window, because I wanted photos. A simple tradition. Every year, I treat the family on my birthday. No expectations, just presents. But presents was apparently too expensive for them now. The bill came, $3.46, tip included. I paid without blinking. And then I walked to my car. Something inside me was still. Not angry, not even surprised. Just cold. Like the last ember of something that used to matter had finally gone out. I opened the Notes app on my phone. First, I paused the tuition support I'd been covering quietly since 2021. $1, $200 a month for my sister's online MBA, for $100 for Mia's community college classes, $85 for my brother's language app subscription that he never used but guilt me into just until I passed German. Next, I logged into the shared travel wallet, the one I had created, funded, and invited them into so we can all have adventures. Adventures, apparently, didn't include me. So I locked the account, froze all funds, changed the password, removed every name but mine. At 2:06 p.m., my sister finally texted, "Why is everything disabled?" I stared at the message, the all-caps urgency, the entitlement. No apology. No sorry I missed brunch. Just panic that the free ride stopped. So I typed back, as casually as I could. "Beach day, right?" At 2:11 p.m., they were asked to leave the resort property. Apparently, the group booking they made was paid with the card I'd attached for emergencies. The same one I used last year to cover a surprise family trip because we haven't been together in so long. They never said thank you for that either. But what they did that night changed everything. It's not like I didn't see it coming. The signs were everywhere. I just chose not to see them. Or worse, I saw them and made excuses. It started subtly. A forgotten birthday here. Sorry, we're tight on money right now, when I offered to plan a weekend getaway. My cousin Mia always forgot to pay me back when we split Ubers. My sister would text me for help with rent but post spa selfies the same day. I chalked it up to bad memory, to stress, to millennial burnout. I gave them grace. So much grace, I ran out of room in my own bank account. I've always been the dependable one, the together one, the one with the good job, the reliable car, the savings account nobody talks about, but everyone counts on. And I liked being that person. I did. I remember the first time I offered to help with my sister's tuition. It was December 2021. She was crying on the phone, said her financial aid got cut, and she didn't want to drop out. Just until the semester's over, she promised. That was 4 semesters ago. She never mentioned paying me back. Not once. In fact, she acted like I owed her that support. Like I was just fulfilling some invisible role. Same with Mia. She wanted to go back to school too. Said her part-time job wasn't cutting it. I helped her pay for her laptop, her enrollment deposit, her books. She dropped out by the end of the first year, said it wasn't for her. But the subscription charges for her language apps, course portals, and digital tools? Yeah, those stayed on my card. And she never once said thank you. It was the same story with travel too. Back when we were all trying to be closer, I came up with the idea of a shared travel fund. I called it Fan Passport. Everyone would chip in monthly, just a little. I put in the first $500, set up a Google Sheet, made the payment portal. Guess who was the only one who ever actually contributed? That's right. Over 2 years, I covered 3 trips. Spring break in Miami, cousin Tasha's engagement retreat in Sedona, a mental health reset weekend in the Berkshires that somehow turned into 5 people tagging along. And always, I'll Venmo you later, followed by silence. Still, I told myself I was helping. I told myself I had more, so I should give more. But it wasn't generosity anymore. It was a trap I'd built for myself out of guilt and people-pleasing. The last time I tried to draw a line, it blew up in my face. It was last October. I asked if we could all plan ahead for the holidays, maybe share the cost more equally. I said it gently, diplomatically. My exact words were, would it be okay if we divided the Airbnb this year? Just so I'm not fronting the whole thing again. Mia didn't even let me finish. Oh my God, she snapped. Are you broke or something? The group chat lit up after that. My aunt joked that I needed a sugar daddy. My sister said, just say you don't want us there. They turned it into a joke, a roast, then went on to plan the whole trip without me. I only found out because my card was still linked to the account, and I got the charge notification. I should have cut them off then. But I didn't. Because I kept hoping they'd wake up. Because I still remembered birthdays. I still sent care packages when someone was sick. I still showed up. And now? Now they didn't even have the decency to cancel. They just didn't come. 12 seats. One filled. That wasn't a mistake. That was a choice. And when I reviewed the financial statements later that day, what I saw made everything crystal clear. My sister had used the shared wallet to book herself a weekend massage retreat last month. Not for stress, for fun. And she labeled it mental health therapy reimbursement. Mia had ordered AirPods. For class, she'd said. My brother? He hadn't used the fund in months because he'd linked a new payment method. Mine. He was buying game credits. Weekly. I'd spent nearly $18,400 in 2.5 years helping my family. $18,000. For what? To sit alone on my birthday? No, that wasn't going to happen again. But I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't even going to explain. They'd made their choice. And I was about to make mine. At 2:11 p.m., they were asked to leave the resort property. That part wasn't planned. I'd only disabled the travel wallet and cut off the cards. But apparently, Mia had booked their beach day package using the Fam Passport Fund, the same one I'd created, funded, and managed since 2022. I'd paused it at 1:38 p.m. By 2:11, a manager at the resort came over and told them, very politely, that the reservation had been declined due to a frozen account. When they tried to argue, security was called. They didn't even have enough cash on them to cover the minimum fee. I know because I got a screenshot from the hotel staff. One of them, my aunt's friend who works front desk, texted it to me with a single line. Did you mean to do this? Because wow. I didn't respond. Not then. But that night, the group chat exploded. At first, it was confusion. Mia, guys, did the card just decline for everyone? My sister. The room was canceled. WTF is going on? Then came panic. Aunt Carla. Why is the travel wallet locked? I'm stranded with no lift money back. Then rage. Tasha, you couldn't wait until after the trip to throw a tantrum? This is low. And then, finally, the explosion I'd been waiting for. My sister, queen of entitlement, texted me directly. Not a word of apology. Not a hint of guilt. Just fury. What is wrong with you? Everything is disabled. You embarrassed us. So I responded. For words. Beach day, right? Nothing after that for an hour. Then, all at once, my phone lit up like a war zone. First Mia. Voice message. Screaming. Then Aunt Carla. We've always been there for you. Tasha. We're family. You don't just walk away from family like that. I could have ignored them. Instead, I opened the chat and went live. Yep, live. I clicked video, held my phone up, and hit record. Me, sitting on my couch. Alone. Calm. Not angry. Just done. Hey, I said, my voice level. I saw the messages. Don't worry. Everything you're experiencing right now, being locked out, losing access, not being able to depend entirely on someone else's efforts. It's not permanent. Just unfamiliar. I paused. But you'll adjust. Like I did. When you all abandoned me on my birthday. The chat went quiet. I kept going. You knew. You all RSVP'd. You clicked yes. I called, I texted. Not one of you canceled. But you did coordinate a beach day. So don't tell me this was a miscommunication. I flipped the camera around, showed the untouched birthday cake still in its box on my kitchen counter. I paid for 12 seats. 11 stayed empty. Then I flipped it back. You want to talk about what's wrong with me? I'll tell you what's wrong. What's wrong is that I let this go on for years. Let you use me. Let you treat me like your personal bank account, your emotional support sibling, your backup plan. A new message popped up. Mia is typing. I didn't care. I leaned forward. You don't get to scream at me for pulling away. You pushed first. I just finally got out of the way. And then I ended the call. No screaming. No drama. Just the cold, unmistakable sound of a door locking. 20 minutes later, my mom called. She hadn't been on the beach trip, but she'd heard. And for the first time in my adult life, she didn't sound neutral. She sounded scared. Sweetheart, she said carefully, I think you might be overreacting. There it was. The family anthem. Minimize. Deflect. Guilt. I stayed silent. Look, I know they were wrong, she continued. But this is a bit extreme. Is it? I asked. Because I thought showing up alone to my own birthday while everyone else played in the sand without even telling me was a bit extreme too. She didn't have an answer to that. So I hung up. But the final hit didn't come until the next morning. At 6:37 a.m., my sister posted on Instagram. A black screen. White text. It's sad when your own family turns on you. All because you went to the beach. People change. Money changes them more. The caption was worse. When you stop funding their fragile egos, they lash out. I wish healing for everyone hurting. Healing? I opened my laptop, logged into our shared document folder, the one I used to manage their tuition, expenses, subscriptions. And I cleared my access. All of it. Gone. Then I drafted a simple email. Subject: moving forward. Family. As of today, I am no longer providing financial support. This includes tuition payments, subscriptions, travel expenses, or emergency funds. Any debts owed to me are officially forgiven. I am not seeking repayment. I am seeking peace. Please do not contact me unless it is to acknowledge this boundary. With love, but also with limits. Me. I hit send, sat back, and exhaled. After the email, silence fell like fresh snow. Cold, clean, unfamiliar. And for the first time in years, it felt like I could breathe. No more panic texts at 2 a.m. No, hey, can you float me till Friday? No guilt-drenched emoji bombs in the family group chat. Just nothing. At first, it was unsettling. My whole identity had been tied to being the responsible one. The problem solver. The emotional sponge. The you-know-he'll-handle-it guy. But in the stillness, I started to hear myself again. The first thing I did? I bought a whiteboard. Sounds silly, I know, but I hung it in my kitchen and wrote in huge letters. You don't owe anyone access to your peace. Every morning, I made coffee, looked at that whiteboard, and reminded myself, boundaries aren't punishment. They're protection. In the first 2 weeks, only 2 people reached out. My mom. And surprisingly, Mia. Mom's call was classic. Soft voice, cautious tone, trying to mediate. Sweetheart, she said, they feel terrible. Your sister cried all night. She cried because the wallet closed. I replied. Not because she missed my birthday. There was a pause. You're not wrong, she admitted, barely above a whisper. But maybe don't burn it all down. I looked at my empty cake box sitting in the kitchen corner and exhaled through my nose. I didn't burn anything, Mom. I just stopped rebuilding pouring from an empty cup. She didn't call again. But Mia did. Or rather, she texted. I know we screwed up, but was it really worth nuking everything? I didn't respond. A week later, a new message. You're punishing everyone for one mistake. I laughed bitterly. One mistake? I scrolled through my bank app, past 36 tuition payments, 3 Airbnb charges, 2 emergency vet bills for her dog, for last-minute Uber rides, and $237 in shared streaming services, none of which I even watched. That wasn't one mistake. That was a lifestyle. They weren't apologizing because they understood. They were panicking because the faucet had finally shut off. But then something happened I didn't expect. 3 weeks in, my little brother called. Not texted. Called. This was the same kid who'd been quietly riding the family funding train for a while. Language courses, occasional rent boosts, PlayStation subscriptions. I never confronted him because he always acted like the neutral one, the one who never took sides. Hey, he said, voice low. Can I talk to you? Not as a family member, But just as a guy who watched all this unfold. Sure, I said, surprised. You were right, he said after a beat. We all got way too comfortable. Especially me. I stayed silent. I think. We forgot you were a person, he continued. We just saw the card, the ride, the safety net. Not you. There it was. The first real thing anyone had said. That's not your fault alone, I told him. I trained all of you to treat me that way. He exhaled. Still, I just wanted to say it before I lost the chance. I didn't cry, but I felt it. Like a deep ache finally being acknowledged. We didn't talk long, but it was the first conversation that didn't feel like a performance. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten. No return address. It was from Aunt Carla. Inside, 3 lines. You were the glue. We took it for granted. I'm sorry. It didn't fix things. But it landed. And then came the photo. Sent by a family friend. It was a group dinner at Tasha's house. My sister, Mia, a few cousins. The caption said, Cousins Night, like old times 2 hearts. But it wasn't like old times. They looked fractured. Not fake happy. Just hollow. And that's when I realized something. They weren't grieving me. They were adjusting to life without the support, the stability, the convenience, the free upgrades to their lives. But now, they had to face their own weight. I went on with my life. Started therapy. Began painting again. Said yes to invitations I usually declined because I was too tired from handling everyone else's mess. I booked a solo trip to Iceland. Spent 2 nights in silence by a black sand beach. Just me, the waves, and the wind. And for once, I didn't think about who needed me back home. Because nobody did. And that wasn't tragic. It was freedom. It's strange how quiet the world gets when you stop answering the wrong people. 6 months. That's how long it's been since the brunch. Since the frozen champagne glasses. Since the 11 chairs stayed empty while I sat there, trying to pretend I wasn't watching the clock tick toward humiliation. I used to think family was a kind of blood contract. That you owed them your loyalty, your energy, your silence. No matter how many times they forgot you, drained you, mocked you. I thought being good meant being useful, being helpful, being available. Now I know better. Family isn't who laughs when you're footing the bill. Family is who shows up when there's no camera, no credit, no gain. When I sent that email cutting off support, I didn't just close my wallet. I closed the chapter where I lived at everyone else's mercy, where I sat at the emotional kiddie table, swallowing guilt with every bite, where I kept saying yes, hoping they'd one day say thank you. They never did. But that's not what broke me. What broke me was realizing they didn't even notice I was hurting. Not when I worked overtime to cover my sister's late tuition bill. Not when I skipped my own vacation so Mia could go to her healing retreat. Not when I paid for our last family trip and sat in the back row alone while they all posed for pictures at the front. I was background. Useful. Silent. Until I wasn't. I didn't announce my exit. I didn't scream. I didn't throw a tantrum. I just stopped showing up. Stopped covering for their chaos. Stopped giving without reciprocity. And the world didn't end. In fact, it got a whole lot quieter. And in that silence, I found myself. I started cooking again. Not family-style dinners for 6. Just simple meals for 1. I read books without checking my phone every 5 minutes. I went on walks without bracing for another call that started with, I hate to ask, but I even started painting again. Something I'd stopped doing years ago because it wasn't practical. Because nobody needed me to paint. But I needed it. Because for once, I wasn't creating for applause. I was creating for peace. My apartment feels different now. Lighter. Like a place I actually live in, not a charging station between obligations. I changed the locks, not just literally, but emotionally. I stopped being a revolving door for people who only came in to take, never to stay. And then, a week ago, I got a letter. Not an email, not a text, a real letter. On paper, from my mom. Her handwriting wobbled more than I remembered. Inside, she said, I've read your silence. And I think I finally understand. I don't know how we missed it. You were giving us everything, and we treated it like a faucet that would never run dry. I wish I had told you earlier. I'm proud of you. Not for what you gave, but for finally stopping. Come home when you're ready. We won't ask you for anything. Just bring your peace. I cried when I read that. Not because I wanted to go home, but because, for the first time, someone saw me. Not the helper. Not the bank. Not the planner, the problem solver, the he'll cover it guy. Just me. I didn't respond. Not yet. But I didn't throw it away either. Maybe I will go back one day. Maybe I won't. But if I do, it won't be as the person they used to know. It'll be as someone who knows his worth, who won't shrink to fit at their table. Speaking of tables, I celebrated my birthday again. Not with a reservation for 12, just one seat. Mine. I went to the same restaurant, sat in the same corner booth. This time, I brought a journal, a book, my favorite dessert. No place cards, no expectations, no theater. And when the waiter asked, "Will anyone be joining you?" I smiled. "No," I said. "Just me." He hesitated. "Would you like the big table?" I shook my head. "No need. This one fits just fine." Later, as I walked back to my car under soft streetlights, I got a message from my little brother. "I miss you, man. Not the money. Just you. Happy birthday." I smiled. Because finally, someone saw the difference. I drove home, lit a candle, poured a drink, and sat with my peace. No apologies. No guilt. No more brunches with ghosts. Just a man who chose himself and never looked back. Final thought. You don't have to explain your peace to people who profit from your chaos. Let silence be the space where your strength grow. You've already learned how to breathe without them. Just care about yourself.